This is story time. The Heathen and the Penguin.
I'm the penguin.
So it's been about we're on our 8th day. Flew in on Saturday morning, Alaska Airlines, and that was a rough ride. That was a really rough ride to go through.
Alright. We are just about ready to get onto our plane. It's the first time Sasha's flown since she was 4 years old. It's been 10 years for me. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Very excited.
Don't take it easy there. Calm it down a couple notches. It's gonna be a long flight. Get your food. Start the day out right with McDonald's, you know, like a proper American. How you feeling about your first time flying?
Super excited.
The flight time wasn't too bad. It was about 4 hours. 4 hours from O'Hare to Seattle.
And then another 4 hours from Seattle to Anchorage.
Mm-hmm. So the problem though is the seats. They have like next to no cushion. I'm putting them right between like Spirit and Frontier, and that's only because Spirit and Frontier are justifying for the terrible seats. So that was so far I think the roughest part of our first roughest part of our trip.
Mm-hmm.
So we came in on Saturday, left out of O'Hare at 6 a.m. and got into Anchorage by about 12:30.
1 o'clock, yeah.
We got a Chevy Traverse, which has been a lovely vehicle to travel around through so far. We'll get to play around with actual snow tomorrow on our trip upwards to Fairbanks, but we're getting there. And we stopped off over at the Wild Scoops.
Which they had amazing ice cream. They truly did. I ended up getting the pumpkin cheesecake ice cream on their Alaskan cone.
Well, that was it was their homemade cone, but it's with the baked Alaska on top is the roasted marshmallow.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mm-hmm. And I had the wild berry one, blueberry. It was no, I think it was just mixed berry, wild Alaskan berry, and it was delicious. It had a really good flavor to it. That definitely will be something that we missed, but it was definitely a good first stop once we left the airport.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did that. We stopped off, got some general essential supplies over at Walmart, and then we left out for about a 2.5 hour drive down through the coast to Seward, Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very scenic
drive
the entire way through. It was one of those bits where it was almost harder to keep your eyes on the road because of like how much was going on around you, because there's all kinds of different escape. You've got the sea and how that's crashed coming up too, and it's not like it was crashing up or anything over on the side bit.
No.
But it was it's a stimulation overload kind of ordeal. You have that happening on one side of the road, and then on the other side, like immediately, almost like just on the other side of the lane, is your fucking mountain, and it is anything from like a leaning on over and continuing on to a vertical.
Yep. And there was lots of signs for avalanche. Watch out for avalanche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the driving out there is subject to change. We got particularly lucky that when we drove in, or when we flew in, the rain had just basically come through and was just about stopping at about noon. So by like 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock or something,
it was starting to, like, it wasn't like coming down.
No,
down.
it pretty much stopped. It was just very light, like, intermittent.
Yeah, intermittent rain all the way down to Seward.
But it was very clean. The view was the view was very clean after the rain, so we got really good pictures and views in general of the mountains and the sea and all that as we were driving around the coast. So that was really good timing, and thankfully if it had stopped at noon for the most part, the road was pretty decently dry by the time we were getting on it because of the extra winds.
Yeah.
So, and the temperature is pretty nice. I mean, down there we were only hitting at somewhere around like
30, 40s.
Yeah. So, the unfortunate drawback of October in any part of Alaska we're coming to find is availability. There's not a lot of businesses that are open during this month, so mostly because it's a middle zone.
It's almost starting the dead season right before all their winter activities.
Yeah. No, not pretty enough for most people to tourist around. Not enough stuff going on to bring in the tourists, so shut it down for a couple of months, chill out, and then get back to it when the snow comes through and they can bank out on tourists again. Fair enough. We've gotten pretty lucky, though, with the few shops that are still open and swinging.
Yeah. And the food we've had has been really good so far.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we've had anything that we actively didn't generally like.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of dishes that were like, okay, cool, whatever, but that was pretty much about it. Everything else we've had has been pretty delicious. So, no arguments there. We were over at the Breeze Inn, which was a very lovely stay with a lovely mountain view.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice and clean, so appreciated for that stay being available. And then the other one in the area was Harbor 360, and they're a little bit more tied in, I guess, with the marine tours and stuff, while the Breeze Inn has a bit more to do with the Breeze Inn lounge and pub that they have across the back alley, which was pretty good. The food there was pretty decent. It was a little bar foodie-ish, kind of cool, whatever.
Yeah, the beer was not bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, the beer was outsourced from other local places, so that was pretty decent. You had something blood.
Tiger blood?
Tiger blood, yeah. You had tiger blood sour, and I had the Hazy Mountain IPA. But they also had wild game meatloaf styled sliders.
Yeah, which I was very meh about.
I mean, it was a unique little bit. It was kind of like a slightly drier, but still, kind of tender meatloaf above a burger. I mean, they're tiny little sliders and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a mix of elk, venison, caribou, and buffalo.
Yep.
Yeah, all there. So that was interesting. I wouldn't say it was delicious. Like I wasn't losing my mind over how amazing it was or anything. But like any other, like I said, meatloaf style bit, it's okay. Cheese curds were really good. Did you jump in cheese curds?
Cheese curds were good.
It had a nice environment. Unfortunately, we came across the issue there first where, because of the dead season and there only being a couple of places open, they're gauging their day off of what business is coming in. So when it starts getting later to the day, somewhere around, after dark or just about dark at 7 o'clock or something, if they're not seeing a decent amount of pull-in of people, they're going to be looking to close up. So options get a little limited. When first the Breeze Inn Lounge, they wanted to close up by 7 because they only had like 3 other people in there, so they were like, not really worth it, just continue to stay open. And then
that's where we ended up just going to the bar next door and... Yeah,
the lounge. And that I mean, I believe it served the same food.
Yeah,
I might have been wrong, but it was okay.
Sunday morning we stopped off at the
Lighthouse Cafe and Bakery,
which I had 2 eggs, reindeer sausage, and toast.
How'd you like the reindeer sausage?
The reindeer sausage kind of reminded me a little bit of like Johnsonville sausage.
Yeah, I thought it was
like
more...
the texture of it at least. The overall flavor profile kind of was muted, if that's a good way to
No, I
say
think it tasted just like an Oscar Mayer hot dog. Tasted just like an Oscar Mayer hot dog, but with the consistency of a bratwurst in the sizing of it. That's what was weird about it. It wasn't very enticing, but it wasn't necessarily off-putting. But I'm sure, like most sausages, it's mixed with pork and whatnot. So, because we haven't been able to find anything that's a straight cut of something. You can't find, leg of elk or anything sitting around. There's no bareback strap at the supermarket. So, I think there's something to do with the hunting and stuff to that. But
yeah.
I would think that was part of it. Was you couldn't if you hunt, you are not allowed to sell what you kill, or something to that effect. So Sunday we had the Kenai Fjords boat tour for I think it was like 4 hours or something like that,
Yeah.
4.5 hours. And this was it started out fun, but it got rough real quick at the end for me. So the beginning of it was real nice and scenic. Just popped out a little bit just to see the fjords, but
yeah, I got to see seals. I got to see goats. I got to see a bald eagle.
got an otter.
I didn't really get to see the otter. People were kind of in my way.
Oh, I got it. don't think we really saw anything else out there. The giant rock formations were really cool. Got to see a couple of the old abandoned World War II bunkers stuff that they had out there. That was pretty much about it. Pretty uneventful otherwise. We didn't get to see anything like orcas or whales or anything like that. The seals was a bit of something, but the seals be where my downfall for the day came in. Because while I was trying to focus on capturing the seals with my larger lens, because we were much further away from them at the time, I'm trying to hold still on the camera while we're also partly out into the ocean where we're getting really rocked around on the ocean, and I'm trying so hard to focus on my camera that I start getting seasick. So from about halfway up on our trip, I pretty much just kind of spent the rest of the day or the rest of the time and stuff just on the back end of the boat, just waiting for whatever to upchuck. It was not very fun. And then on top of it, all the extra constant motions going on. Then they kick it up to high speed to get moving it, and
I didn't have that on my end. It was more of just like the feeling of being on a boat on the ocean, just that rocking back and forth. I had that throughout my entire body, which
for the day.
And I had that all day. Even after we got off the boat, I still had that on land, and I was like, oh God, am I gonna get sick?
Yeah, so we thought that we were going to do the boat tour, and because it was only going to be 4 hours, that we'd have the time to go and walk through the Aquatic Life Center museum or zoo thing they have there. That's much further in town at the far end of the coast in there. That was also the day we went to the Flamingo Lounge.
Yes.
Everything else in town was closed up. The only other higher quality looking diner and stuff in town was closing up because he was one dude by himself, and he already had like a
table of 10.
Yeah, easily.
He had one table of 10 in the restaurant, and
then we showed up and he hadn't even got started on their order, so it was like, yeah, no, we're good. We'll just let you close up, bro.
Yeah, he was cooking, he was waiting, he was doing everything by himself.
Yeah. Saturday, Sunday, Monday we went to the Aquatic Center and we did some general shopping around through a couple of what was left over shops. Aquatic Center was really cool. Had quite a bit there.
We got to see seals, birds that look like penguins, but they're not penguins.
Wana penguin.
It's a wana penguin. I'm sorry.
But it's a could have flown a penguin.
Yeah.
Got to see some anemones. Got to see
anemones.
We got to see a bunch of. Got to see a king crab. That was really cool.
Yeah. He looked very delicious.
Got to see some big sea lions swimming around, and then two of them kind of yelling and maybe fucking.
And then we got to see little ones. I'd have to say they're about
small.
yay big.
More puppers or juveniles. They're cute.
And they were cute, and he literally just like flopped.
Flop flops. Flop tops. I know, that's what makes you easy prey. That's why everybody told you not to go touch the bear. You think anybody was worried about me touching the bear? No, they weren't. They knew.
Yes,
They knew. We all knew.
Well, to start off the day, we also visited the Resurrect Art Coffee House. They had really, really good coffee.
Made good suds. Good campfire style coffee. I liked it. Not too burnt, not too dark, but hurt your soul.
And I think I ended up getting a white mocha for a free drink because, that's what I do.
It was the first time you got art coffee, at any rate.
And it was the first time I got coffee art. I absolutely loved it. It was cute. I got, I kind of stuck with the same coffee at all times. I did the white mocha, mainly. I had a croissant, the chocolate croissant from them. I've had their cinnamon roll, which, it was a really good cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
You had the bagel.
I had the jalapeno bacon bagel bombs. Those were delicious. They had a nice spicy kick to it, and it wasn't like, wasn't overly spiced. Didn't burn for terribly long. The bacon helped give a very savory flavor to it, and cream cheese drove it home. The bagel. So I was pretty happy with 2 of those in the morning. That got my day going.
And you also had the focaccia.
Yeah, we had the breakfast focaccia. That was pretty decent.
It was yeah.
It was filling. I mean, it's basically just a breakfast bread.
Yeah, with an egg in it.
Yeah. So for what it was good. Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, the coffee house itself, it had like an upstairs and downstairs, and it had like little artsy knickknacks all throughout the coffee shop, which I thought was kind of cool.
Odd amount of naked women on whales for a coffee shop, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not 100%, like I've seen the octopus stuff, but I mean, just riding on a whale, I don't know. But different strokes for different folks.
Maybe. One of the shops we ended up first stopping into was a Sew and Be Cozy. It's a quilt shop, and I would say it had a lot of nice fabric.
It did. I liked a lot of the designs and stuff that they had up on it. It had quite a bit of Alaska, Seward in particular. It had a lot more kind of ocean ocean aquatic life mixed with the land animals and stuff, because it's their environment and stuff. So I liked having that little bit of extra flavor in there. A lot of bears, wolves, deer, salmon. Something I find is interesting, you go over to the Aquatic Life Center and you see like all the different salmon kinds and species and stuff, and how fucking gnarly they look. You don't ever really see them up on a quilt, do ya? It's always this beautiful, majestic, sleek-looking fish. It's never one of them that's got this big honking kraken mouth to it. It's just not something people want to fall asleep cuddling with, I guess.
Yeah, no ugly fishes. We did get a panel of all the different wildlife, and we picked out random colors that still match everything to go with the quilt, and we got the backing.
Yeah, pretty much a big centerpiece and stuff that we can put a couple borders around and call a quilt. So should be nice, simple, and easy. But that one was what? How much did we spend on the material for that?
I think anywhere from 80 to 100.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 90s. Yeah, 90 something or something like that. It wasn't terrible.
The next shop we ended up going to was the Russian store. It was very small. It had like an electronics store attached to it. I guess.
Yeah, it was like a little extra hallway.
Type hallway that if you went straight, that's the electronic. And we just veered off to the left.
Like originally it was designed to house two different buildings on two different streets, but have a middle ground to walk, a middle hall to walk in between for bathrooms and stuff.
Which was kind of cool. The Russian store itself, apparently there was a little bird that flew in there and caused
knocking stuff over.
And caused a little bit of havoc for the owner. But I ended up seeing a lot of old Russian memorabilias, like the fur hats, the pins, a lot more Soviet era. Yeah,
definitely that heritage kind of tidbit. That was a lot of that was interesting to see, that kind of crossover of the Russian heritage portion aspect of it, the native populations aspect of it, and the stuff, like the hooks and stuff, their tribal like styled knives and stuff with obsidian or something onto some antler or something that's been carved up real good. So that was an interesting collage of that. Bit of gimmicky kind of stuff, here there a little bit, like old nostalgic kind of stuff, but it was a charming little shop. They had some unique pieces in there. It's a little kind of a trinket kind of shop, I guess I'd call it.
Yeah, they had Matryoshka dolls. They had
a lot of them.
They had quite a few, which I do have a penguin. It's at home. It's at my mom and dad's.
Yeah, she already bought out the market on the penguin. She's when the alarm finally goes off that there's only ever been there's only like 8 of these things left in the world and they're worth $500,000. I'll know where that 8th one is, and then I just got to start breaking the others. Yes. Or buying them.
Yeah.
Build the colony.
Build a colony. Yes, always build a colony.
You'd think that'd be a styled penguin game or something, using them like Matryoshka dolls or something to multiply. Go
Chess.
Out, get food, get bigger,
Checkers.
And then they multiply.
No, chess.
Chess?
Make a chessboard with all the Matryoshka dolls.
No, I mean... then you're just kind of basing their usefulness off of height. Is that how you really want to be evaluated?
Be nice.
I'm just saying what you're saying.
And I did finally find the Russian chocolate I've been looking for.
That was a big thing. Told you to buy out the rest of it because unfortunately then we didn't go back the next day, and then by the time we had to leave they weren't going to be open and we had to get going, so
Yeah.
we were already late. So so it goes. So it goes.
I should have just bought them out, but I didn't. But at least someone else gets them and enjoy it. I did buy little miniature version so I can taste it ahead of time. So, because I bought the little ones and then I bought the big bars. And if I didn't like the little ones, then it was gonna be a meh.
Then you were gonna give me the ones you didn't like.
That's exactly how that works.
So we finished off with the shopping and stuff. There wasn't anything else that was real unique that was open for food, so we just went ahead and stopped off over at the Safeway and picked up some hot bar stuff, which is, you know, chicken.
Yeah, some guacamole, some chips.
And so we went back to the hotel, dropped off all the food and stuff, and because we still had some daylight, we wanted to see what all we could see while we were there, because we were going to be leaving out soon. We decided we wanted to drive off towards the exit glacier to get an idea about, like, you know, where the trailhead was and all of that, because we figured, you know, it's best just to go there, get a scope out of the idea of the place before we figure out what equipment we wanted to bring with us. So we got there, enjoyed the view quite a bit from as far away as we were. It was quite lovely. They have an overlook that was that's real nice. You can generally see it. We could just barely see it while we were on the boat tour. We had to be a ways off, I guess, for some ice issue or something, but we could just barely see that all the way off in the distance. This was like within like the mountain views and stuff we've generally had around here. You'll see, but it was definitely something unique and interesting amongst all the other breathtaking moments out here. And so for that overlook, not far off is the trail, is the ranger station or headquarters, whatever you want to call it, and that's the beginning of the trail and stuff to go to see the actual glacier at the foot.
Yeah, like the visitor center.
Yeah, the visitor center. Thank you. So from the visitor center, you have a trail to go towards, like, and one or two ways to get to it, depending on what you can handle. Trail off to the left is a little bit more left and righty, but it's more sturdy, I'd say, overall. Whereas the other one off to the right's a bit more through the woods. So that's got a little bit more turbulence and unstable ground there, but it wasn't a bad trek. We did both. We went up through the forest, going through it the next day, and then came back down the other. So both trails were very doable. I think the trail on the left, further from the glacier itself, was a
little bit friendlier.
Yeah, and it's more out in the open. You can see quite a bit more. So that was fun. But anyways, we didn't go straight to hiking it and stuff because it was already getting late. So we just pulled up, checked out the area, and then we headed back on home.
We checked out a campsite or two.
Yeah.
See exactly what they looked like.
The campsites definitely were interesting. They had quite a bit of space and understandable rules. Like, there's no food except for in the food shelter, and you can only cook at the food shelter, basically. You're not allowed to take food to your campsite. You have to hang up any trash or throw it all back into the car. You have to walk everything into the area. The best they have is a ground pump. Then they still want you still have to either use soap. You're using soap for cleaning stuff, or you got to purify it with heat or chemical. But they were a nice little easy trails to follow. They were spaced out pretty well.
They were very well marked.
The brush is very dense. They're little groups of like 6, I think it was. I think there's only 12 sites. There's 2 little branches. So they've got a pretty decent amount of space and brush in between. So it's not like you're going to have any, neighbors or something. Except if they're walking through the trail. Maybe.
Yep.
But even that, a lot of it had an extra little arm to it, so you weren't like anybody who's walking through can just directly see, and they'd have to walk down a little bit of a trail to see you in your corner. So I like that feel. That was nice. Except for the silence. You know?
The silence kind of got to me a little.
Yeah, that starts being worrisome because it's like you know that there's something out there, you just can't hear or see it. So, and you know it would be too late by the time you do. So, thankfully we did have the bear spray. All right, so Tuesday was the exit glacier day for hiking, and I figured we were only going to be able to do the very bottom bit of it. I really wanted to get up a bit higher, but with all the gear we were going to bring, because I'm bringing my general rig and setup, plus the tripod. But no, I think I brought the monopod with
you brought the monopod.
I did the monopod. I didn't use the stabilization vest because I thought that was going to be a little too cumbersome overall. And I kind of wish I had, kind of wish I hadn't had it. I mean, the footage was a bit, it was okay. I liked it, but I probably could have done a little bit better with it. It's not like we were up and trailing anything, and that was kind of the more disappointing thing. So when we had gone the day before, somebody had written up on the chalkboard what kind of activity they had seen that day. So they wrote up on the day that we first came up that there, you know, at 9 a.m. or something, there was a bull moose.
And then there was like a black bear.
Yeah.
It was a mama and a cub.
Yeah, so they had been marked a couple times throughout that day. So we thought, okay, there's a good chance we might actually get to see some wildlife out here and stuff. Cool. Bring the bear race. So we get on out there though, and we start hiking through, and trail was nice. It was not, you know, it was a little challenging and difficult to on some degrees, just because of the formation of the rocks that you have to scale up and the angling of them. But if you've got decent boots on, you should be fine. It was pretty scenic. It was very nice to climb through all of that, and I'm glad we did try both trails. But getting there is good, and that was the other thing. Just before we got there, we found a little pond with something that was some tree that was growing out, but the ice had formed at the top of it, and it looked like the tree was breaking through and coming up through the ice. I like that a lot. That was real, and that was just before. That was literally like a little divot before we got to the actual like scenic spot. So that was an extra little treat. And we get up there, and it was pretty breathtaking to look over and see it that close, what's left of it that close. I'd have really liked to have left the gear and gone all the way up to the top to get the view, but that would have probably been at least another like hour or so just going up. So
yeah, we ended up spending a grand total of almost 7 hours.
Yeah, we got there real early. We wanted to sit, and we sat and we watched the sun come up, and the problem with it is that the sun never doesn't, from where we're at, the angling and stuff, and where the glacier's at, and the sun at the time of the year, it's not hitting the glacier. It's hitting the mountain on the one side and the other side on the far end, but it gets really, really close, or it did for us at least.
Yeah,
but it never actually
like the
got
very
there.
Tip, like the right tip of the glacier.
So we never really got like a golden hour for that glacier actually, because of where it sits.
Yeah.
But it was still very nice to watch. But we probably sat and watched that for at least an hour or so, hour and a half maybe. The visitor center was closed, so just go straight to walking through. There was a couple people here or there. I think there was like maybe like another 8 groups or something of a couple people that came through hiking through, so it was nice to have some people around you. But you get to make most of the trail in by yourself, kind of, so that was nice to do.
They do have plenty of stop off points, so if you needed to take a break or something, there was a little rest area. And
until you get to, once you, that was all on the paved portion. Once you get off of the paved portion, it's just kind of whatever. I think there was 1 or 2 spots up quite a bit further. Once you gain your altitude, that you get a seat here or there, or a rock formation that you can real properly sit on. But it took a hot minute to get up there.
Yeah.
But The scenery of it was very nice. The cameras, I was very happy with what we captured from what I've seen so far. Yeah, it was just really cool to be there and to stand in what was ice like 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost like stories above your head tall. Like that's a wild experience to be standing there and thinking about it. More so because of how recently. I mean, you're talking like literally what, 2 generations ago,
Yeah.
3 generations ago, 70 years or give or take.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Is Exit Glacier. I am looking at the last remains of a glacier. But that is a glacier. This is what we do on our vacations and honeymoons. We go to check out glaciers. Hike through bear country and see cool shit. Ain't that right now? I have got to drink from the glacier water, and it is delicious. Earthy. Smoother somehow. Smoother, like, I don't know. The only way I think I can describe it is it's like there's something that's not in the water. Maybe that's chlorine, lead, mercury. Already been a lot of fun here in Alaska, and I'm glad to be here with you.
No.
So then on Wednesday, we got started a little on the late side because we were exhausted. But we had to get moving because we had to get moving on to Talkeetna. So, yeah, I had everything packed up the night before.
Well, somewhat.
For the most part, one of us did.
Hey, sorry, I got tired. I fell asleep.
Yeah, excuse.
I'm always the one who falls asleep first. Out of this entire trip, I always fall asleep first.
But got moving. We stopped off at the conservation center. That was interesting and fun. And unfortunately, it's the only time we've seen bears so far.
Yeah, it is.
So at the very least, we figured we'd stop off at this conservation center and we'd get to see what wildlife they had available. So we got to see some brown bears, some moose,
Some elk.
caribou, some elk, some regular deer.
The caribou, when the young caribou kind of did its little trot around and try to scare us through the fence.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to go pet it.
I'm sure you wanted to pet everything there.
I wanted to pet everything.
A lovely lynx, a couple of owls, some wolves, very elusive white fox.
Coyote.
Coyote, bison, musk. Yeah, right? Musk
Yeah.
ox.
Musk
I mean,
ox.
Anyways, yeah, that furry bastard. Yeah, so at the very least we got to enjoy that. We got to walk over. They have an overwalk where you can go over two different exhibits and see both the black and the brown bears. Well, the black bears weren't out; they were tucked away or so.
Yeah.
But the brown bears were just kind of laying around underneath it and stuff, and just kind of chilling out, munching on something.
Yeah. And
Showing us their ass as much as possible. They don't like to turn face to people who aren't giving them food. So
that's true. They did not like us very much. And all I wanted to do was pet it. The entire time I was like, it's a bear. I want to pet you. Can I please give you a hug? You are adorably cute.
yeah, the general drive all the way up through, I gotta give, is something that's really been making it the most worthy trip. The fact that you can keep driving for hours and keep coming across stuff that's really unique and surprising. The mountains, their ranges, how tall they are, how close you are to them, the ocean, even the woods. The woods after a little while start, kind of honing in a bit your focus, because all you can really see is the woods really close and the mountains off in the distance where it's clear, where it's cleared off for the road. So unless you're particularly close to it, but yeah, it was definitely a beautiful scenic view and drive the entire way through. And we pulled in pretty late because we got out and left an hour late. We also got to the conservation center, and that added, we expected 2 hours there, I think. I think we were a little longer, but about 2 hours there. And then we went over to Glacial Brew House.
And that was really, really good.
It's right next to the police department.
Yep.
And it was a real nice establishment. You walk on in, and you've got gift shops and stuff, and artistics shop and stuff next to them. Got nice bathrooms in there, some pretty cool stone pillar, nice and classy looking wood furnishings and stuff.
Yeah, it's very wood and stone vibe, and
yeah, the bar was rather impressive with that, with the stone.
They had a fireplace.
And it smelled delicious. It was a real nice place.
Yeah, you walk in and just the aroma of the entire establishment was just like, oh my god. Like, it was mouth-watering.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And that was the thing. So we went ahead and we ordered some food from there. That was probably, I believe it to be the best food that we've had on the trip so far.
Yeah.
We got an appetizer tower that had some calamari, some cheesy garlic bread, and some garlic prawns. I think they had some scallops and stuff in there too, and some soaked bread or something.
The bread was actually a salmon dip.
Yeah, it's a salmon dip. That's what it was.
It wasn't cheesy garlic. It was salmon dip.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, that was amazing. That salmon, that dip, because it was more like smoked salmon on the bottom,
and it had like a cream cheese dip on top of it, and you just
scoop in deep and layer on your bread and eat it open faced. Some of the best salmon I may have ever had in my life. That was exquisitely delicious, balanced, but extravagant in flavor.
Yeah.
On all aspects, not just the salmon. So and that can be said for all the dishes. The calamari was not chewy in the least. It was very, very tender and well cooked, well breaded.
The prawns were.
It didn't come with a marinara sauce though, but it was standalone good enough.
The prawns were really good.
Garlic sauce.
I liked the fact that it came with like artichoke hearts and it had other vegetables with it. It was really good.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that damn well almost did us in right there. We still had I think I had a burger.
Our main dishes too.
Burger, and then you had.
I ended up going with the seafood fettuccine Alfredo sauce, and that was a lot to take in. It was really, really good. It had scallops, it had salmon, it had shrimp,
red pepper, bell pepper.
It had red pepper, it had
shit ton of cream, shit ton of cream and cheese.
Butter.
And butter, yeah, but
lots of butter. It was
super
rich.
Again, though, that was the thing. Though it was very rich, but it wasn't like overbearingly rich for like an Alfredo or fettuccine style.
Yeah.
It was on the mark for it, but the flavors were exceptionally noticeable. Was the difference I felt?
Yeah.
But that was really good. The burger was delicious. Very juicy and moist without it spilling over and sogging up everything. The bread held up very well. The fries were crispy and damn well what I'd consider to be perfect. Had a pumpkin imperial stout that was fantastic. So much I had to get a growler, a half growler, and take it with, only because I couldn't allot the space for more. And I'm not going to be able to go back. Yeah, it was some amazing food there. The only frustration I have is the limited amount of merch. Why does nobody support the zip-up hoodie? Why does everybody want a pouch and not a pocket? What is wrong with you people? Get your shit together. Variety, goddammit. Even the Glacial Brew Pub we went to here and stuff, they had quite a bit of variety. No goddamn zip-up hoodie. There should be a minimum. Pouched hoodie, zip-up hoodie, long sleeve t-shirt, short sleeve t-shirt. Maybe some yoga pants or something at anything lower than that. Beanies. Yeah, stickers, but these should be staples. These should just be styles that you always have available. Baseball cap and a beanie. Hey. That's been my only real frustration outside of not seeing more wildlife. And we have seen quite a bit of it. It's just, we wanted to see something dangerous.
We wanted to see the bears.
I wanted to see something that would make me make a $50 purchase worth a while.
That, and I also wanted to go hug it. Except if I went to go hug a bear, you may not see me ever again, so...
But the bear might finally get a cub. Nordic pizza from the Glacial Pub. That was an interesting one. We got that as a to-go bit, and it had reindeer sausage, blue cheese, a buffalo sauce or something on it. It was interesting. It was more like a flatbread, but I liked it. Jalapeno. It had jalapeno on it too.
Yeah.
Oddly enough,
I
I did like
absolutely
it.
did not like it. Absolutely did not like it. Nope, nope, nope.
It was a unique flatbread. I wouldn't call it a pizza exactly, but it was a unique flatbread.
It wasn't a pizza shake.
It wasn't a pizza. It was a flatbread. I'm just gonna
It
call it like I
was a
said. It didn't have
pizza
marinara. No, no. Just because it's a circle doesn't even mean that it's a pizza shake. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of pastries that are that shape. They're not pizzas. No. The dough is particular. The sauce is particular. The ingredients on top are limited. Or kill yourself. You're wrong. Broccoli does not go on a pizza. Pineapple should not go on a pizza.
Thank you.
You
for
want to
that
put it
one.
on a flatbread? Have at you. Marinara tomato sauce. Chicken Alfredo is not a pizza. So yeah, so we hit up the Glacial Brew Pub there.
Dinner was amazing.
Dinner was amazing.
And we still had about
Another 2.5 hour drive up.
Hour drive up, yeah.
Again, still a very nice drive up until like the last hour of it, where it's just kind of like, you know, enclosed, and more so because we got out later, it became dark. So we didn't actually get here until 7:30ish or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty on the late side.
It was on the late side.
Well, thankfully, it was nice and easy to get here, and they were kind enough to leave us a little note and key at the lodge. So we just walked in, saw our names on an envelope, and grabbed that, and hopped on in, moved all of our stuff in, and it has been a very lovely cabin.
It has.
Definitely sizable for two. Could definitely do easily
people.
do a family of 4. 2 beds upstairs separate, and one king bed downstairs. I didn't really care for the layout myself, but the couch was more than light enough. If you've got another person with you, it's pretty easy to move this stuff around, so we just kind of moved some things around. Made some stuff. I'm sure a lot of people, especially if they're staying for more than a day or two. I mean, if you're only here for 1 day, you don't really care about the couch at the end of the event and stuff, but if you're going to be here for a couple of days, yeah, go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Don't ruin the stuff. Don't take the couch and throw it upstairs or something, but, you know, make it comfortable for yourself to a degree. So Wednesday we drove in. Thursday we just kind of took the whole day off. We drove into town.
We went shopping.
No, we went to the Flying Squirrel.
Yep.
For breakfast. They had delicious food and coffee there. The bakeries were delicious. The white chocolate chip raspberry oatmeal cookie was amazing. The pecan bar was great.
Lemon raspberry cake. That was phenomenal.
We also got their classic sundae, which is a bagel with smoked salmon, microgreens, bagel, and cream cheese. As a sandwich. It was delicious.
It was.
Red onions in there too.
And tomato.
So just missing the capers.
Yep.
And then we went over down to downtown Talkeetna, which is an interesting square.
It is. It's old-timey feel, like Western.
It's like it's like if Alaska did its Renaissance fair, a town's Renaissance fair style. A lot of the shops are just kind of make up the main street. There's some people who have some personal residential bits there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All of it's a work in progress. It was a very interesting little bit and stuff. Again, not really the season to be going through small towns that, you know, thrive on tourism and stuff so much, but it was still nice to be able to go through, stop off at a couple of the gift shops and pick up some memorabilia stuff and whatnot. Nothing that particularly sticks out, I don't think.
Outside of the
we did stop off.
It was called a Moose Patch quilt shop.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped in. The two girls that were in there were very friendly. The one lady, she just kept chatting with us.
But yeah, they were real nice. They had some pretty cool stuff in there. They had a lot of metal artwork that I kind of really wanted, but
no, that was at the Blue Moon.
that was at the Blue Moon. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was at the Blue Moon. The Moose Patch one is when she showed us the really fuzzy blanket.
Yeah, that was all the yarn stuff.
And that yarn. Like, I wanted to buy that yarn.
Yeah.
I really wanted that yarn.
Not for $50.
But not for $50 a skein. I have never, ever seen yarn go for $50 a skein. Ever.
Well, they're looking to, take it for what you're worth, man. If you're stupid enough to think that this is extra special, you'll buy it. Some people are like that. Some people get to like that. And honestly, it did have a vibrant color. I did like it a lot. It really was good. And if it was like $30 a skein, even it might have been something to kind of consider because of how difficult that vibrant color is to really come across. But not $50. Nope.
Not 50. Sorry. But they had quite a bit of different fabrics, of course.
More woodsier tone stuff, less sea stuff, but...
And we did end up buying a kit.
Yeah.
So this way it came with everything you needed. You didn't have to buy extra materials. It came with everything. All you need to do is have a sewing machine.
And know how to do it. Yeah.
And know how to do it.
So enjoy that, Dan.
Mom, I love you. The Blue Moose gift shop, that place was kind of interesting.
They had a lot of knick-knacky kind of stuff that's, general memorabilia, all kinds of things with their name and stuff on it.
Yeah, it was kind of like two shops put into one.
That was about that long, yeah. Well, they had 3 different stages. They had a front, one side that had more to do with the...
gifty trinkets, like ornaments, random
souvenir kind of stuff, or the metal artwork I liked a lot in there. Some local talent stuff. Then they got a middle section that was a little bit more for kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, more
plushy stuff.
More like nightwear, sleepwear, some random
pajamas and stuff, but whatever. Shirts. And then they had the other section that had a lot more, like, clothes. More souvenir. I'd say more souvenir. They didn't really have much in the way of clothes there.
No, basically that whole back wall was all, like, hoodies, sweatshirts, jackets. But nothing with the zip up.
Souvenir stuff. So on Friday, where did we start on Friday? We went to Latitude 62.
Yep.
They had some pretty decent food there for the pricing. I gotta give them the breakfast burritos were actually really good and sizable, like actual burrito size. So half of them filled us up for the day for the morning easily. A lot of veggies in it.
It was like all around really, really good.
Came with the salsa and sour cream. Both really pulled the rest of it, pulled it all together and made it like something bright for the morning to start out with. So I like that a lot. That was really good.
We also ended up picking up biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy, which I was very shocked and surprised was absolutely delicious. The biscuit maybe was a little
dry.
Little on the dry side, yeah. But overall, the gravy was amazing.
Yeah. The gravy was phenomenal.
The sausage, amount of sausage in there was very satisfying. It wasn't overly greasy or anything. Didn't have too much pepper and other spices to it. You really got some almost damn well Kentucky-ish from out here. So I was very pleased about that. I think we might even have to make a stop just to grab a to-go order. And then we were going to go to Denali mountain range. So a big part of Denali is the drive to Denali. You kind of come in from the south end of it, southeast end of it, and you start kind of getting on the highway. So for us, actually, in Talkeetna, you have to drive down Talkeetna Spur.
So you hit 3.
And then hop a right, and then you take 3 all the way up, pretty much. The entrance, the park entrance, is all the way at the very north end of Denali. So 2.5 hours of driving pretty much through Denali to get to it.
Yep.
The last hour of it gets a bit on the intense side. They've got some very fun, bumpy roads, at some interesting speeds. They've got some real dramatic drops and rises in elevation. So, not exactly for the timid, but if you are, get the fuck over to the right.
Yes.
They do have a lot of areas and stuff for like taking pictures, scenic pictures and stuff like that, where you can, pull off and do that. Or just take a break, some rest areas, a couple of questionable stops that maybe
Which
have a
reminds
toilet.
me, we'll have to make sure if we do happen to stop at that area that we need to make sure we have toilet paper with us.
Maybe just learn to hold it for the first hour, man. That's just not going to be a good idea if you really want to. It was weird that it had like one door locked up and the other one not. Now I don't know if they just aren't bothering to pull out the shit from it or what, but maybe there's a junkie locked up in it for all we know.
Yeah.
Just pulled up and there's just like this big park area or open parking lot area with nobody there, and a little outhousey bit. One door is locked. There's McDonald's, fairly fresh McDonald's bag that's been torn through by some animals and shit, and no toilet paper in the open doored one.
Yep.
So questionable shit to say the least, but I think I just wouldn't go back there. But that's just me. So they do have plenty of ways for you to, steer clear of other people. There aren't really many people on the road at any time that we've been driving around, honestly, unless there was some construction in the general area.
Yeah.
But,
I did notice some snow as we were driving up to Denali.
Yeah, it was little sprinkles and stuff. But there had already been snow that had fallen before. So, unfortunately, for the time of the year they were at, the fact that there was snow on the ground by the time we got there, they had closed off the 15-mile road for private vehicles. So, and they were not running any tours, so you could hike from mile 3 at the farthest.
Yeah.
Which is the dog kennels, which we didn't know, didn't look and research it. The dog kennels were only open on Saturday and Sunday, so we showed up on Friday and went, oh great, the only thing we could have seen is closed. But we can hear the pups.
We can hear the puppies.
So we decided to just say, all right, well, it was freezing cold. It was easily like
20 degrees.
Yeah, something like that at
It
the
was
warmest
cold.
of the day. So we were like, no, we're not going around hiking looking for bears and stuff. It was starting to get me late, so we packed up and came on back, and we thought that the night was just going to be pretty fizzled out and stuff. The night and sky was pretty open and wide and clear. So we decided to go out and start playing around with the camera and with the Sony camera to start doing some night photos and stuff. And there was a bunch of kids that were been playing around. A couple of people showed up earlier in the day, and for just the day, I guess. and a bunch of these kids were running around and making a fuss and all this noise and stuff. Well, we're out there just doing our thing. And all of a sudden they start running over back towards the cabins and stuff, yelling about the northern lights and stuff. Well, we're all looking up over here, and then we're like, oh yeah, that's the northern lights, I guess.
Yeah, it was a very spectacular view.
Well, that's the thing, though. It was subtle. Like, when we were actually standing there, it just kind of looked like a slightly funky colored cloud. It didn't really look like the way you picture and see the videos of the northern lights. And it wasn't until we started taking videos and pictures of it that we could see like the spectral dimension of it, like the tidbit that I got, the best stuff that I got. You can just kind of barely make out like that snakis. I always want to kind of compare it to like a ribbon of silk or something like that. That's what it always looks like to me, and that was one of those things where like I don't want to be underneath it looking up, because I think the views I see of that do just look like a big colored cloud or something, and you can't see much. But if you're out on the side, you can kind of get that extra waviness look to it. So
they did mention what's it called, that they were having some purple toned ones earlier in the week or a couple
purple
weeks.
And red.
Purple and red ones. But we didn't see the purple and red ones. We saw the green.
Yeah, green and blue.
Blue, mainly. They were. It was still spectacular to see.
Yeah, I was very, very happy and lucky, and at the very least once, man, we got that. We got this one. I know that I looked back and saw at least a couple of seconds of really good footage, so I'm happy with that. I am satisfied with that. I'm not saying I wouldn't like to have some more, but I don't need to be that greedy. But I will be.
Saturday we went back up to Denali.
Yep, Saturdays, yeah.
And we ended up seeing the puppies. I love the puppies. The puppies have no issues with me. They walked up to me. They're like, here's my butt, go scratch it. I want pets. But when it came to him, you scared the puppies.
I mean,
the puppies were barking at you all the time.
The puppies on one side of it that we were told by the handler were not so human friendly.
Except for one, maybe two that I got to pet.
Not so human friendly or person friendly and stuff. They were acting up. There was another whole kennel side of it where they were actively in their own little barred off rooms, and another middle section. And none of those ones cared at all. There was only one who was really caring about it, and he was freaked out over my dead cat, which I find funny.
I don't think it's...
A bunch of dogs are losing their fucking mind because there's a dead cat walking around. Yeah, that's fucking funny.
I don't know. But that's me.
But yes, they like
I
a
got
lot
to have
more,
the...
and I didn't bother. I pet one. That was it.
I pet all of them as much as I could. I got the puppy kisses. And then afterward, I had to wash my hands. I waited till I got home to wash my face. Because I couldn't kiss my husband otherwise. Yeah, it's scary.
Hey.
It's okay.
okay, pup. I scare everybody. You're not alone. I know. Keep your distance. I got it. Oh. Good stuff, huh? Alright, back on over here. A little hungry, are they?
If I get one, it's gonna be that puppy. All the other side.
We came back and we hit up the Denali Brewing
Yep.
right down the street from our cabin. They had really good pizza, I would say.
Yeah, I was very happy with it overall.
Garlic bread, delicious cheesy garlic bread.
Yeah, balancing on it was pretty good. We got a meat lovers, pretty standard, but the ingredients were very fresh and it was well put together.
Mm-hmm.
Your selection was a little miss for what we look for usually, but the Imperial Stout was really good.
The one that I had was, I could never pronounce it. It was a Braggot style.
Oh, you had the Pleiades.
The Pleiades?
Yeah, like Grace Pleiades.
Okay. I was not really taken with it.
It was okay for.
It was okay.
It was more like a more wine than beer Braggot.
Yeah.
Whereas most Braggets we've been exposed to are like
the heavy
meat flavored beer.
Yeah, it was usually Braggots to me are it's almost like that Concord grape with a beer, like a dark beer.
Yeah.
But
that's just what we've had, so.
Yeah, but this was a very crisp golden color, very clear. It was still really good, but
their other meads were relatively not far off from that same flavor profile ballpark, though.
Yeah,
the
but
raspberry,
I did notice it was very dry.
The Razzie was, and what was the other one? The guava one. Guava one was okay and interesting. More of the guava flavor was in the after flavor to me. But otherwise, a lot of traditional mead flavors. Decent. Pretty decent. I'm still a little bit more partial towards our meaderies, but wouldn't turn down another drink. Wouldn't say anything I felt that passionate about picking up, though, myself.
Yeah, we got stickers there.
Yeah.
The merch, we did pick up some little taster glass goblet looking style glasses. We picked up a wine glass for me.
The woman that we talked to who was taking our order, we came to find out later, she actually came from Burlington.
Barrington.
Are you sure? I thought she said Burlington.
I heard Barrington.
Oh, maybe. It was maybe Barrington. Close by, in Chicagoland area, whatever. But yeah, apparently she had moved out of there down to Florida for like a year or two or something.
During the pandemic.
And then decided to do a 180 out into Alaska here.
Seems pretty happy with it.
Sunday.
It's today, and this is what we've been doing for the last like 3 hours.
Yep. And we'll see how much snow we get. We're supposed to be getting, what, 2 days at least at minimum. I'm looking forward to snow. No one else is but me.
Well, you get to look forward to snow twice this year.
The one place I did want to, we did want to stop at the 49th State Brewing Company, to grab a beer or two, maybe some food. Unfortunately, it's temporarily closed.
Like a bitch! No, thankfully we got to do this. We've gotten experienced quite a bit on our trip, and I'd say about 85-90% of what we've been looking for we've gotten out here. A little bit more. I mean, bear and moose, man. I just want to see a bear and fucking moose on my trip out here. Fucking,
yeah.
What's her face? Kelly got to see fucking moose pull right on up to her cabin. I don't get no moose pulling up to my cabin. I do have a very fun creek, though, that I have been enjoying the view of.
Yeah, and it looks like the water is very still right now, so
That's been some of the coolest shit, though, is being here to watch it freeze over. So when we first got here, the whole what's left of the river was just flowing, no problem.
And it sounded like it was rapids.
Yeah, but like off in the distance, kind of rapids. And then because we were here at night, we didn't really get to see much of anything. So when daylight showed up, the whole area over here, all the way down, was it's like staggered with rocks. So it's got one area that's higher up, and then it kind of like falls down the rocks and stuff up to a certain point, and then starts creating its own island kind of bit. But to watch the water flowing over the rocks like that was really cool. And then to watch as we were driving through Denali, to start seeing like rivers with the ice chunks and stuff starting to formulate and flowing down. And I saw it first at night, and just could make out some shadowy pieces that were coming down on the far side of the bank, and since then we've just been able to watch the ice kind of grow, and now it's accumulated. So in Denali we started watching, and the second time we were coming back, we were noticing that the water didn't look like it was moving at all. The ice chunks were pretty much stopped flowing, like they've all pretty much crunched up together and formulated their wall. Whereas here is still kind of building it up, but we've watched ice chunks come down and get caught up on the rocks, and that started to make more of a barrier that's starting to make that part of the river more calm and still, so it's probably going to freeze up soon.
Yeah, I did also notice that the temperature today did jump up quite a bit. It came back up to like 30 degrees.
Yeah.
So,
well, like I said, it does that before the storm, and we're expecting one tomorrow.
Yep.
So hopefully we get our asses moving. Hopefully there won't be very, very much that's falling around the Denali area, so I don't have to drive slow as fuck. Because any turn the wrong way could eventually mean thousands of dollars.
Or end of life.
Yeah, that won't cost so much.
Holy crap, that's pretty thick ice. Yeah, look how big.
Nice.
Look at this.
All right. Oop.
Alright, so we're back in slightly different location stuff. Not in our, this is long after our trip up in Alaska, so we still got something a little at least wintry scenic-y to kind of fit in with the mood of what we were doing or what we were experiencing before and stuff. So this is a bit of a later recap and later for the last weekend of it. Sorry it took a while to get back to working in on and stuff, but like, the way I kept on praising the way that we drive through the Denali Mountains and stuff, that might be a little on the hyperbolic side about it. Because it's more like you're driving on the highway on the other side of a river for a majority of it on the side of one of the faces. So on our last day in Talkeetna, as the storm was coming through, we were supposed to get about 5 inches worth of snow. And that's where we drove up for the 5th time past Denali and then up into Fairbanks, and that was a rough ride. It wasn't too bad going through like the actual like pinch point areas of the mountains and stuff. It's a lot slushier. We just drove slower. That was the thing. One of the nice things is that most of the people out there really do recognize the conditions, and they recognize that most people, expect that there's a good number of people who are, just going to be naturally slower and stuff, and a lot of them are pretty respectful about it, and they're not riding up on your ass and stuff so much like they do in pretty much everywhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
You get a couple people every once in a while, but that's only because they can actively drive because they're prepared for it. So I'm willing to give them that. But the fun bit is though that they don't use
Salt.
Yeah, they don't use salt out there, so they just kind of throw down a bunch of gravel and small rocks and stuff like that. And while you do feel like like it actually gives you the grip and stuff, that only lasts for so long until the snow really starts accumulating.
Yeah, I think the only time they actually use salt was in the walkways of like businesses.
Yeah. I mean, they don't really have it, especially once you got out of the cities and stuff. They don't use it at all, really. But the bigger problem with that starts becoming the trucks, because you are already having a difficult enough time driving through with the snow and stuff. But every time that the trucks whip on by, they've got a huge kick up behind them. Well, now that also includes small rocks. So that's kind of some giving and taking on there and stuff. We were pretty lucky on that drive and got up without any real issue, but that was interesting. But yeah, by the time we got into Fairbanks, the roads were pretty much just iced over.
Yeah, and very snowy.
So we got to, it was the Riverbend Cabins up in Fairbanks, and we really liked the abundance of communication from our host there. She was very informative, everything you could possibly think of, all different kinds of directions, and what places you might be coming from to get there, a number of things to do in the area at different times and stuff. Very helpful with any of the needs and stuff or considerations for the cabin. The cabins were pretty nice.
I did enjoy the cabin.
It was a little weird the heating situation from there, because it's one thing when it's like an electric piece and it's an obvious thing you feel the heat rising up from and stuff, but you're walking through the house waiting for the place to warm up and you're like, I hear stuff kicking on. I know that there should be heat emanating from somewhere. I just can't figure the fuck out where. Just radiant heat like that just threw me for a loop, but because I'm looking around through it being like, man, it's not, where the fuck is the heat coming from so I can figure out how to amplify this, and it's just not there, bro. There's no vents. There's no place to put a fan to oscillate this stuff better. Like, there's nothing you can do. But once you get through, I mean, once you get past the first, the first day or so, everything really starts getting up to temperature, and you hardly even think about it afterwards.
Yeah, that's true, because it did stay, I would say, warmed up really quickly, but relatively. The fireplace was a little not so fun. Sounded like it was gonna break.
Yeah, well, it's just math. There's some bits to these cabins and stuff. No matter what, there's always gimmicky little bits you're gonna want to stereotypically see into a cabin, and the little fireplace, electric or what have you and stuff. You know, it's the nostalgia of these kinds of things and stuff. But other than that, yeah, like the layout of the place had a nice. I kind of think I like the layout of this a little bit more than I liked the layout of the Talkeetna cabin. But I also think that I like the Talkeetna cabin more for its openness and the all the windows and stuff to be able to see out of. So, two very different styles, but they each had their own particular strengths, I felt.
Like, I like the balcony aspect. Like, I like the main master upstairs with the balcony. I like being able to walk out there and making a little tiny snowman on a rail. It was nice just to look out onto the river from it.
I like the cabiny area and stuff. Unfortunately for us, everything was obviously frozen over pretty severely and it was cold as shit, so we didn't spend a whole lot of time just hanging outside and enjoying it. But we did kind of pop in and out of the balcony quite a bit to go and smoke and stuff out there. They don't care as long as you're outside and stuff. So that was nice. So we did that drive up on Monday, the 21st of October. And Tuesday, we were also supposed to get hit. So Monday, we were hit with 5 inches, I think, and they easily got 5 inches.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like 5-6 inches.
And then Tuesday was 3 more inches. And we tried. I mean, I've done plenty of driving around out in Chicago, so I figured this shouldn't be that big of a deal. So went ahead and hopped in the car, tried to get some coffee and stuff, and nah, closed down. All their little coffee shops and stuff, and little container bits and stuff, all of them shut down. I think we had like 2 breakfast places that we wanted to go to, and they were also shut down. It was just like, come on, man. It's early, I'm hungry. Let's get going. Life doesn't stop because it started snowing. Let's move it. We thought we were going to go and hit up the
North Pole.
Yeah, Santa's workshop. Shut down.
Everything was shut down that day.
So eventually, didn't you also have the reindeer encounter planned too?
Yeah, we did. That was the reindeer day that we had originally planned on going. And they actually sent out an email saying that...
The day before, I think, actually.
Yeah, the day before that they were going to either cancel or reschedule your event.
Yeah, they were good about that, but yeah, they were just wanting to wait to see how the next day was going to play out, if the 3 inches were all they were going to get, and then they'd make a call from there. So at least we already had a heads up that was going to be canceled. But yeah, it was just kind of a little bit of a bummer day, so we just stopped over to Walmart, picked up some more provisions, and we went over to the Banks Ale House. That was right there. A lot of what Fairbanks area is it seems like it's a lot of like kind of a mix between an industrial area, college town, and like a town center, kind of more around that Walmart, other big box store areas.
Myers.
Which is kind of nice and convenient, and to a certain degree of it, that you kind of have different places and stuff that things are kind of all mushed together and then sprawled out like any other general township or city. But I felt like the flow of that worked out pretty well there. I'd hate to see what it looks like in full season though, like not in the dead season. No.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing it with all the snow.
Yeah, that would have, well, without all the ice would have been nice, but that was pretty precarious driving around because they did sure shit get 3 more inches. All of that compacted down, and because it was so cold out there, it was well below 20, I think. They just stopped putting down any of the gravel or the rocks and stuff because it was all just going to get embedded in ice. There's nothing you can do at a certain rate. Well, the Banks Ale House did provide us a fun bit that we found we could find actually in the in most of the liquor stores or Walmart and stuff out there, and it was this, what's it called, Blueberry Ale, Backcountry Blue, Matanuska Brewing Company in Palmer, Alaska. Delicious. So I was very happy to be able to pull some of that back with us. We had to go and get another, was one of the things we had to go and get over at Walmart and shit was in a whole nother bag because we had bought so much stuff to bring back, and a lot of it was ornament stuff later, but definitely needed it. This was definitely a good pick-me-up for the day that we needed.
Yeah. We got that, and I think I also picked out raspberry beer as well.
Yeah.
Which, it was a good beer.
Wasn't as good as this, and not good enough to bring back, but was good enough for her. Take that how you like. We did find the smoked salmon. That was the highlight. That was the highlight while we were driving around us and stuff. I think out on Tuesday, we found the smoked salmon, and that paired up with the sourdough bread actually pretty well. But it was delicious. It was like the first day we walked in, and the place was practically empty, and the guy's like, "Oh, you guys want some lox? We got lox coming up." I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Well, this stuff's gonna be a little bit." Oh, okay. I mean, we can come back or something. It's like, no, I'll give it to you right now, man. I just go ahead and vacuum pack it and all that. I was like, oh, all right, man, fine. How much you want? Yeah, I gotta go with a pound of it. You want a pound? Yeah. You want like a whole pound? Yeah. Well, let me bring you some out and stuff. Like he doesn't think I knew what I was doing or something with salmon or something. Like I get it. I'm from the lower 48. So we go ahead and we're talking a little bit and everything, and he's going on about it, you want to freeze it or something like that, you just, right before you get on the plane, like, I don't know what you think I'm doing with this salmon here, bro, but it's not seeing the light of day tomorrow. Alright, so Wednesday we went ahead and got ourselves a little bit earlier of a start. I think that was the day that we went to go and get the crepes.
Yeah, we went to the North Pole first. We did the Santa Claus house. We picked up all our ornaments. I got to meet Santa and say hi.
I really did like the Santa. I will give. I have a couple of gripes I'll get into in a minute, but I got to give that Santa. That man was dedicated to his craft. He was that man. There was no he's pretending or he's paid to be there. That man was Santa fucking Claus. It didn't matter what age you were. He was just having all kinds of whimsical fun and stuff, and kept the solid tone and the general look on his face and the smile and stuff. Like really authentic. Had to give it to him. He's like the best fucking Elvis impersonator ever.
Yeah, that Santa was awesome.
That's good. Do you have any other highlights on that you want to get to before I get to my complaints?
I ended up picking out like an additional, 6 more penguins that day?
Yeah. Easily. I probably found at least 4 of them. You good?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she remembers. Now let me tell you what I remember. Now I like the place. I will give it to but I feel like it is just terribly underutilized, and I'm sure part of that comes in with the highs and lows and stuff of tourism and what the gimmick and stuff is. But it was cool. It was cool, but I really felt like they could have damn well branched off each of these sections that they have in there into its own building. It could have been like its own. Santa's workshop is like a whole town square almost, because I mean, they have the Santa. It's its own little, could be easily its own little like centerpiece and stuff, done up a little bit more. But the toys and stuff, and they have a nice rural kind of range and stuff from newer stuff that kids are gonna, younger kids and stuff will generally want to, nostalgic kind of like more wooden toys and stuff in there. I was kind of impressed that they had a nice little array and a couple little timepieces and stuff, and they're still available. Those were some nice touches. But we're basically talking about a building about the size of a small strip mall. And you've got a nice section for the Santa, for the toys and stuff, a little display piecing on a back wall, and then you start getting into more like ornaments and stuff like that. But the ornaments to me was underplayed, honestly, because I feel like that's if you're going out of your way to be a Christmas capital of the world kind of deal, I feel like specialty ornaments and stuff is a good place to start baking out on, especially the more exotic kind of stuff it is. Now, once you get past that, then they start having some more like Alaska memorabilia kind of stuff. They had some like custom stuff you could have carved in your name and stuff like that into like a pocket knife or something.
They also had some metal artwork.
A lot of shirts and hoodies and all that. And like I said, general, clothing and apparel stuff is general, but a lot more of it drive towards being at the North Pole.
Yeah, they also had the little souvenir stuff like little trays of salmon pre-cut up and the maple syrup, which we did happen to find there. Or it wasn't maple, it was birch.
Yeah, birch.
They had like your usual chapsticks, beer bombs, soaps.
Yeah. A lot of gimmicky, usual, kind of bits and stuff, but as long as it's more local stuff, I like that. Now, they also had a little, like, food bar area, too. I don't think we got anything from it.
We didn't get anything from them, though.
Yeah, because we had to get on to moving over. They have reindeer there. They also have they have a little bit of a park area there too, which I kind of would have liked to explore, but with the cold, the snow, and we already had another reindeer date. It was time to go.
After North Pole, we ended up going to the Running Reindeer Ranch, and that drive was not so fun in the snow.
No, I mean, everything was driving somewhere around like 35 maybe a max of 40 miles an hour, if that. I like the ranch. It was really nice. Once you actually get into the area, you start looking around, and it's clearer to see their setup and stuff there. Kind of throws you for a loop because you kind of think that you're going in looking for a parking lot or something like stereotypical and stuff, but it's kind of more like, just behind the house.
Basically. And then I guess some people parked down the road a little bit.
Yeah, we had a pretty sizable group actually. I want to say it was like, 15 people or so?
Yeah, I'd say about 15, 16, maybe 20 people at most.
Yeah, so this was her day to go ahead and just kind of have fun and not be playing with the camera so much. So I went ahead and took that over and got a little bit of video, got a little bit of pictures and stuff, but looked pretty good. I had a lot of in there that I think, it's playing around with, where you are versus where everyone else is, plus with the snow and stuff, so
yeah.
I tried.
I love the reindeers. I did not realize exactly how big they were. They're actually just about as big as like normal deer, I would say. Just maybe
I'd say a little shorter.
A little bit shorter, but they're about the same size as like a deer. All the baby reindeers were adorably cute. And poor Carl.
Well, he asked for it. One of them had messed up earlier on in the year, and so they went ahead to get him to chill the fuck out. They trimmed off of pretty much almost like all of his horns but one, so he could still do reindeer games. I don't know,
but he did look a little bit funny that way. I forgot what the name of the other.
And another one had all kinds of crazy horns poking out everywhere.
Like that one. That was
He had just had his velvet and stuff that was falling off, so he kind of looked like a bloody mess and stuff a bit too, but which occurs.
Yeah, their velvet was coming off, and
he was supposed to be the boss buck or something, the one with all the antlers and stuff, and he kicked up. He almost took Sasha out.
Yep, he almost took me out.
He was eating down and stuff on the ground, and then he lifted his head up and didn't realize that anyone was right next to him, and also doesn't care, so. He just picked his head up and knocked somebody and kept on walking.
Yep.
And everybody went, whoa! Okay, cool.
Yep, I think my only saving grace that day was I had such a big poofy jacket.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd have been speared right through the heart.
Julie meant the boss. Have you heard as a boss? She became the boss this fall. So yeah, but she has her own naughty legacy. So I don't know if you guys saw, but we do yoga with reindeer here in summer. Really goat yoga, right? We do with our reindeer. She became famous at yoga because that first year we did it, she was a calf. And Juniper went in there with all those yoga mats as a baby, and she went wild over the yoga mats. She started cooking them and smelling them, and she would look at every single yoga mat.
So yeah, that was pretty much all we did for Wednesday. Caught up on all of the things we wanted to do out on Tuesday. So after all of that, we decided to go ahead and head on back into town to see what was available for food and stuff. She found a Russian restaurant.
It was Moldovan, actually.
Moldovan, sorry.
It was really, really, really yummy. And I was looking forward to having the polimi that from them, which all polimi are is the dumplings. It's kind of like pierogies in Polish and.
Well, I liked the place. I thought it had some nice decorum to it. It was a nice cultural switch up from the norm for us. So I had the stuffed portobello mushroom. That was really good. Pretty solid meal. Pretty savory.
And that was my first favorite mushroom I happened to find that I liked.
Yeah.
Portobello was really, really good, I would say. The polimi were really, really good. I think you ended up getting the salmon. Yeah, you got salmon. You got a plate.
Yeah, I did do the cooked salmon because it was the only time I was like, I have to give it a little bit of a go. But yeah, it was okay. I liked it enough, except for the usual things that bother me with cooked salmon. But that's a me issue.
So Thursday, we woke up. We had we made some coffee for ourselves. We got dressed. We got ready. And we went to the Chena Hot Springs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The longest asshole clench ever. Oh, that was a rough one. Now, all the other days and stuff hadn't been too bad because although it was ice for the most part, it was kind of that just barely ice where it
was like the slushy ice.
The drive out there was supposed to be an hour. Let me tell you, it did not. It was better. It was almost, I think it was like two and like 15 minutes or something like that to get out there because we had to drive. Getting there during the day, just at the beginning of the day, somewhere around, I think driving there, I drove max at 35 miles an hour. And that was absolutely, because now the temperature has really dropped too, so now everything is rigid, hard ice. Well, just drove on ice for about an hour, and then the next hour, because of the area that it's further away from the rest of the city and town, and you have less people driving out there, so there's not so many people compacting the snow on that trail out there, and it's more snow than anything else. But it still has a layer underlining of ice.
Mm-hmm.
So that added a new layer of complexity to it. And then we also got one of the few things I actually did kind of really want to get. Fair enough to say I did want to get some real heavy snow on the trees and stuff. Not that it could be given to me when I could really fucking use it.
Yeah.
But at least we got some snow so it doesn't just look like brown wire except for, you know, anything beyond that point. But they just, they have interesting criteria out there for which trees that are downed on the road need to be cut and where. Because we came across plenty of areas where it's like, you know, to start off with, like, okay, this is getting a little nerve-wracking and stuff, let's start dropping it on down to like 25 miles an hour here, because it's just snow, and the other problem is that earlier in the day you can't see anything because it's whiteout conditions basically on the road. You can just barely see the deviations on each side as to where there's an immediate 3 to 5 foot drop-off. And then the only other thing you have to go off of is the tree line, which is another, like, in some areas, another, like, 30, 40 feet away. In other areas, like, 10 feet away. It's kind of hard to judge with some of that. So all you can do is just try and drive as slow as you can and drive in the center of the road for the most part until you see somebody else, and then you got to start trying to really navigate one side of it and make a real serious call about how fast you're going and stuff. But yeah, man, you couldn't unclench the entire time. You had to be gripped, and you can't pull off anywhere too. Like in most of the areas we were around, you had a lot of scenic spots and pull off areas. Well, they still have some of those, but they're covered in snow. They haven't had plows coming through, so you can't do that without running the risk of seriously getting stuck there.
Yep.
Because I had 1 or 2 times where we had somebody who obviously wanted to get around us and stuff, and I really wanted to let them get around me, but I'm not going to take the risk that I'm going to pull off over here and not be able to get out. Like, that's just a stupid decision. You're just going to have to deal with my slow ass.
Yeah, that was a very nerve-wracking drive up, but the trees were really, really pretty. Throughout that entire drive.
Yeah.
Like,
it was actually kind of fun to have to drive and weave a little in between them.
it was literally just the snow was so heavy that it literally bent the trees inward and made almost like a tunnel. And I've never seen that before, so I thought it was really, really cool.
Oh yeah, it's just like the pictures and the stuff. It's terrifyingly beautiful. Once you get in there, it actually was really cool to see how much of like the how resorty it actively is out there. I had some preconceived notions about some of the way that the lodging and stuff was kind of set up, and once you actively get in on the ground there to look around and see, it explains itself out quite a bit better. Because it kind of spirals out into a couple of areas. So for us as tourists, as tourists just coming by for the day, not having a cabin or anything, and even those areas seemed like you didn't have like private parking or something. It still seemed like you kind of parked in a generalized area and then walked your stuff to one of the cabins.
I believe I had it set up to where we were gonna do the ice museum first, and then we were just gonna go chill out in the hot spring afterward and just sit and relax.
Yeah, because we thought that the time framing of an hour was going to be reasonable for how slow we were going to have to drive.
We did not know. We were wrong. We were very wrong. We were late.
Because we showed up late and stuff, we had to switch around what we were going to do, so went over and had to talk to them over at the events building. Got stuff switched around, and then we went over to go to the hot springs, which is a little bit behind the lodgy dining area and stuff that they have in their restaurant. And they've got some like massage little mini cabins or something like that next to it. They've got everything in there, though. I got to give them. They really banked out on the whole. These are the quintessential needs and wants of like 95% of people who come here. And prices, honestly, weren't gouging. I don't feel like they were gouging. They had some pretty comfortable slippers. I don't remember what the pricing was, but I don't remember it being anything I wouldn't expect from Walmart.
I think they were like $10.
But they were pretty comfy. They were nice and cushiony. They had robes, all kinds. Simple stuff. There wasn't a wide variety of things. They had a couple of different styles and stuff, but like swim trunks or general, swimsuits for
women.
Yeah, for both parties. They had phone cases, waterproof phone cases that were pretty neat and worked out well for us. No issues on those. You just go ahead and you get a little locker key for.
It was like 50 cents.
So you go through the changing room and all that, take your shower, and then they've got a nice indoor area on the other side of the check-in spot where they've got a indoor pool, and like 2 hot tubs, and then there's the rest of the outdoor to the patios and stuff where they've got private ones, or you can go straight down towards the springs.
Yeah, the main spring.
Yeah, so that was a nice waiting area actually. The pretty nice full-size pool there. The 2 hot tubs were nice to just be able to sit with your feet in there while you're waiting for somebody or something. And the individual ones, they were all chlorine though. That was the big difference. Was everything? Yeah, the hot springs themselves are. You've got stuff floating around in there. It's pretty all natchy and stuff. They got birds and stuff floating around floating on it. So there's all matter of shit in there. But the hot tubs and stuff all have their own. Are all chlorined and stuff. I feel like the ones that were on the outside definitely were way heavier though.
Yeah.
They were really potent. The ones inside weren't near as bad, but for obvious reasons.
The outdoor.
It's like it's really cool, but man, all this like steam in my face. Is that steam? No, it's chlorine. Holy fuck. So yeah. So how did you like the hot springs?
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the hot springs. Honestly, I
would hope so.
I love the water temperature. It was nice and warm. I just like to be outside in the freezing cold with snow on the ground in hot water. It actually is nice. The walk back after we were getting out of the main hot spring area and going to like the little private hot tub outside, that walk was still cold.
So I kind of originally thought like, all right, well, it's going to be concrete walking on down to it, and it's probably going to have some sandy, rocky kind of bit and stuff. I'm probably going to keep my slippers and stuff on. Well, the slippers in their nature don't work out well. If you had water shoes, which I'm always a huge fan of because I've always had a fear of hooks in my feet, I think that it would have worked out much better, but I tried it and it worked really well getting all the way into the water. Then as soon as you get into the water, they just want to fuck off your feet. And it's really nice actually, like the grounding to it was nice and sandy and pretty nice to walk on in general. So there wasn't a big need for it outside of walking down, not on freezing cold concrete.
That's if you could reach the bottom.
Stay on your lane. Stay on your ramp.
I'm very small. I couldn't.
They had a number of places though that you could generally like rock formation bits you could sit on so that whatever's, but they had some deeper and some more shallow. Most everything was somewhere I don't think it was any shallower than like 5 feet and
exactly, and I'm actually under 5 feet, so
yeah.
Because of it, I had to be on my tippy toes a lot, or I would just actively swim because that's
yeah, there's nothing else you can do in water, man. That's how people drown if you don't swim, and you ain't got a rock to stand on.
But we did that one rock in the middle, like
the Little Mermaid rock.
Every
last like whole Asian families are just like, everybody get up on the rock. All the men. Whoa. I don't know, that got a little weird to me. Not gonna lie, that was a little. Yeah, that was a little much for me, but I'm good. I'm glad they had fun on their trip. They have a pretty cool catapult bit and stuff there that was shooting out, or jet spray that was shooting out water and stuff and kind of keeping the area nicely misted.
Yeah, it basically created a fog on one side.
Cascaded through most of it,
Mhm.
actually. I mean, it's a nice, like, little kind of like privacy barrier, quote unquote, and stuff. Like, you can see
Yeah.
other people around there, but you can't really, like, make out a majority of their, like, features unless you were really standing there staring at them. So, yeah, we spent about an hour in there in the water, enjoying that, taking pictures, and just kind of enjoying the scenic view with all the mountains and stuff covered over in snow and all the trees, and the snow was coming down too while we were there, so that kind of added in a little bit to that. We had, at the very least, was like, you know, drift from snow drift from the mountains, but it added a little bit extra, something special. I was kind of hoping with the particular timing of us being out there.
Not the hot spring, but the hot tub was very chlorinated.
Yeah, we just went and gave that a try for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it was just too much on my eyes.
Well, it's also kind of like if you had a real group party, or you want to have like serious, you know, I don't know, an intimate moment, you know, a moment alone with your significant other or something. You know, yeah, it's nice, but it kind of the railing and stuff they have too, that stuff that kind of takes away from that whole scenic-y vibe to it and stuff. So it's like it's kind of nice for, you know, just to be by yourself in warm water while it's cold outside, but it kind of subtracts away for all the safety reasons and stuff. So gives and takes in on that, because the only way to enjoy the scenery from there is to stand up, and that kind of is like, no, that's not what I'm here for. No. Starting to prune up, and then we were getting hungry and stuff, so we wanted to go and check out what they had for food over at the little lodging area, and decored out pretty nice. I liked it. They kind of had a, you know, a lot, like I said, a lodge, trapper lodge kind of feel to it. You had some drink or something from that. We just sat at the bar because we just wanted to grab to-go food.
Yeah, I ended up getting, I think it was called the Hot Mama Bear. It was spiked hot cocoa, basically, with Chambord and vanilla vodka. It was really, really tasty.
That's it.
Like, it actively warmed me up from like the inside.
The food was pretty decent there. I don't really remember. Probably got a burger or something like that.
Yeah, I think I got a burger.
Just wanted something quick and easy to be able to go and grab and then split for later.
Yeah, I think we might have gotten crab cakes as well. Or
Yeah,
something.
I think the crab cakes were pretty.
Yeah, crab
pretty
cakes were
okay
pretty
there.
good. Were pretty good.
I actually think I tasted. I had. Well, yeah, that was why, because they actively had like crab in it. Very few places that allow them to have anything that's actually crab in it. These crab cakes were good. These crab cakes were pretty solid.
We went to the ice museum. We had to head over to the one area because we had to be there on time.
Yeah, you have to meet up for all the events. You have to meet up over at the event hall, where they go through, they do roll call and all that and stuff. You know, give some people some general directions and stuff, formulate the group and go. You'll huddle on down, walk on down there and stuff, and then the tour guide goes through and gives you a whole generalized spiel and stuff about the place and how the whole area and stuff came to be, what they've got around, you know, some general stuff in the area, and then you start going on through with all the rules. Once you start getting into it, they got a little midi area that you walk into, where she goes over more rules, which is pretty much just don't fuck with the ice.
That was apparently the biggest rule.
Don't lean on the ice, don't touch the ice, don't lick
breathe on
the
it.
ice.
Don't do anything to the ice.
So, yeah, and then we walked on in. They've got a couple of the ice masters there, carvers. One of them's making up the
Martini
glasses. The other one, I think, was working on another one of the globe ones that they have there. It tried to limit off a little bit of the photos and stuff because, you know, no fun to show off everything. But kind of felt like it was cramped in a number of ways, honestly. It was kind of like time-wise, felt like it was a bit on a crunch side for it. 45 minutes on top of 45 minutes isn't really true, because that's what the time slot is for it, but you realistically only, I think, get like 15. 20 minutes out of that to do any walking around and stuff through the place, and then on top of that you still have your drinking stuff to do, because a good portion of that time's kind of taken up with standing with watching the carvers and the history and stuff that she wants to give out to you, and a couple of other little tidbits here, there, fun facts and whatnot. And then they kind of walk you through the general back area where the rest of the displays are, and then you're allowed to walk through everything else. So kind of like, that felt like that should have been like the first, that shouldn't have counted towards my free run time here. If I had solid 45 minutes to walk through the entirety of this by myself at my own pace, that would have been more appropriate. But it was nice, it was cool. You were frustrated?
Yes, a little. Nothing was popping up on my camera really well.
You couldn't figure out that the frame rating was the issue because of the lights that they're using in the displays. So most of the whole place is pretty darkened up. There aren't any regular lights in there. Everything's through lights through the ice basically. So you have to keep that electricity from rate in mind and adjust your frame rates with that. So it was a very difficult to get stuff that without adding in so much of the gain in the image. And that's, like I said, that's just a game you kind of have to play with, and this was just really on the fly because we were only allotted so much time there. And we didn't want to try and go back and do it all over again or something, so we had to get going because there was no way we were going to stay there overnight or stay there much later and then come back home in the dark. No. Sundown was already going to be at 7, so we had to leave by 5 o'clock or something to get back in time. And we just about made it, actually. I think sundown was a little bit earlier, but we driving back actually was kind of really nice because of the sunset and the way that because we're driving back down more southwest. So the light coming in was on the horizon was hitting out really nicely. It came up pretty nice pinky blood red-y.
Yeah, it had a little bit of purple specks in there. It was orange, red, purple, and I forgot what the other tone was.
That's pretty much it.
I think a golden yellow, maybe.
Yeah, kind of like. I think it was I remember saying that it was like fire on the sky. It was pretty cool. So that was a nice. That we got back safe, and it was miraculous. I still cannot believe we drove that much on ice and snow in almost whiteout conditions, through down trees and shit, and not a scratch on that car.
Yep.
You keep your collision insurance. I know what I'm about. It's probably one of the hardest drives of my life, honestly. I think that drive was actively more challenging than the drive through the mountains and stuff to get to Fairbanks. That was, if it had been that time there doing that drive at that time with all the snow and ice, that probably would have been a very different story. We got lucky coming up through that storm, and that was a saving grace there, because I don't know if we would have been able to make it through that so easily.
Yep.
That was pretty much it. Spent the rest of the day and the night, and packing up and getting everything set up.
So all we had to do was kind of load up the car and...
Yep, and that didn't take much time the next day, but I was feeling like crap. I don't know if it was that I was trying to drink up a good amount of what we had that I didn't want to try and transport back in glass. I'm still kind of surprised that the growler made it back, because I just wanted to take it with because it was empty, and it was like, the worst case scenario, it breaks. I don't care that much, it just sucks. I just put it in bags and stuff, so it doesn't do anything else or spread that much, but didn't have any problem with that transporting, honestly, so good enough on transport for that. And we only brought like a 6-pack of the beer here.
Yeah, we brought a 6-pack of that beer, and I think else. Maybe 2 cans of the raspberry back.
Yeah, we did.
I think that's all we had left.
Yeah, we needed that whole extra bag though for everything else we had, and we barely fit everything back in together, and yeah. So I wasn't feeling that well that day, and we were leaving out late because I wanted one more day to be majority of one day to the last day to like drive through Fairbanks one more time, see what we could see, businesses and stuff like that. Pick up anything last minute, unique items and stuff.
I think that was the day that we actually stopped at one of the quilt shops in Fairbanks as well.
One of the what?
Quilt shops. We stopped at a quilt shop down in Seward.
That's right. Yeah, we did.
We did stop over at I think it was called the Sipping Tea.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bagel place right next door.
Mm-hmm. Shipping tea was pretty nice. They've got some. They do shipping and stuff and they have a nice list of particular Alaska-made teas.
Mm-hmm.
I found that to be a really nice, unique touch to it. There's a couple of novelty kind of stuff shops that sell off Alaskan-made products and stuff proudly. So I really like seeing that.
They also had the hot cocoa, the blueberry hot cocoa, which is really, really good.
Mm-hmm. But as a dark chocolate, so be warned.
It is a dark chocolate. Not a lot of people like dark chocolate. I love it.
That was pretty much it. We were just buying time before we left because I couldn't do anything because I was pretty much debilitated. Like I could focus on driving and stuff because sitting shotgun would not have done well for my stomach. But outside of that, like I could function on nothing else. And then I constantly had to be going to the bathroom. So that was a real rough 4 or 5 hours or something like that. But we got to go see what few sites we could still go see out there around the college. You found a heritage building or something that they had built.
Yeah, I found some old Russian little hut.
Yeah.
It was apparently like a old lodge that they used to use for during World War II or something.
Oh.
But they would stay there as a overnight stay bed.
Yeah, it's just shelter. It's just basic shelter.
Yeah, it was a basic shelter bed, but.
Yeah, so there wasn't much else in the area, though. I gotta say, especially because we were limited with the drive time and stuff like that, so there wasn't terribly much more we could have done with the snow and stuff on the ground or the ice on the ground. So we kind of just decided to go ahead and just take it easy, cut off, go and drop off the car. There was a fun little difference over in Fairbanks because a lot of other places that I've dropped cars off at, you usually just go ahead and drop your car off and in a parking garage, and the guy comes out, checks over the car and stuff with you and stuff, and then you go inside and you go and sign your docs and stuff and pay whatever and leave. This one was just kind of you pull in, you drop off in the general area, and then you walk into the airport. And then you go and see the desk, and they just kind of do everything, check you through there and stuff, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So that was a little bit of a twist I wasn't exactly expecting, but I thought they would have been a little bit more thorough, especially being in Alaska, because it's a lot more likely that some shit's gonna happen out there, because that's a good reason that there's not a huge population. But whatever works for them, man.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much it. We hung around for a couple more hours. I finally started feeling completely like shit just before we got onto the plane. Mm-hmm. Then we just flew the 1 hour down to Anchorage and then had a little overlay and pretty much just hopped right onto the next plane and flew for another 7 hours back home. And I couldn't move my fucking legs because everything was packed to the brim. And I could just barely. I'm surprised nobody complained. None of them complained that the backpacks and stuff were that full, because it literally was from the ground up to my thighs. I could not move my leg at all. Mm-hmm. So that was a rough flight back for me. But I'm glad you enjoyed the window seat. Now, I remember that you couldn't sleep. Actually, you couldn't sleep the entire time while we were flying through and shit too.
Yeah, on the way back home, I really didn't sleep.
That was kind of, I gotta say, it kind of felt fair for a minute there.
You got sleep.
I did not really get any sleep. I might have closed my eyes and been able to believe that I forgot 45 minutes.
It looked like you were sleeping.
For how long?
For 2 hours.
You think I slept for 2 hours on that flight? You were lying. There is no way I slept for 2 hours. No, I sat there and just tried to keep as still as possible. I was like a fucking Buddhist monk trying to find enlightenment through suffering. Didn't get it. It was pretty good. 'Cause, like, by the time we got there and stuff, and get everything, get our bags and stuff figured out, and we're sitting around at the airport waiting for Zach to come and get us. And I told him to send me a message when he was leaving, so that when I got to the airport and got that message, I would know when he sent that message, and I could have a generalized ETA as to how far out he would be. And so when we landed and I turned my phone on and I didn't get a message, I was like, I think I already know how the rest of this day's going. So sure as shit, I send Zach a message and he's like, fuck, I didn't wake up. I forgot, I'm coming. And I just remember standing outside with you and she looked so miserable. Like she was in Alaska, like she was homeless in Alaska the entire time. Oh, I just want to go to bed. I just want to go to sleep. Where's Zach? I just want to go to bed. Because once you leave the airport area and stuff, you don't have a real area to go and sit down and eat on and everything. You don't have, there's the time we flew in was like 6, I think it was like, it was early as fuck. It was like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And hardly the businesses were they were up and running and stuff, but nothing that we wanted to sit down and eat at.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how long Zach was going to actively be and stuff with all the traffic and shit. But it was at least quite a bit warmer. Oh, and we needed to smoke. That was the other thing. We really, after 7 hours, the real reason we left was we had to smoke.
Yes.
And we didn't feel like waiting around in line to get some food.
We actively did get food. But unfortunately...
Oh, yeah.
We stopped at some little restaurant inside the airport. We got like a breakfast sandwich, which the minute I put it up to my nose and to take a bite, I immediately said, nope, I can't do this. My stomach was going to flip on me that minute.
Yeah.
So.
It took a while, but you eventually started biting into it and stuff, and you got to eating. And once you started getting to eating, you were feeling better. So that's the whole issue with exhaustion and stuff. Yeah, it gets to the point where you don't want to eat. Yeah. And the idea of eating isn't going to help. But yeah, made it through though.
Yeah, we did.
That was pretty much it. It's just been a couple of months of going over all the footage and slowly putting stuff together and figuring out how much out of our 3-hour conversations with a camera have been useful information. So, to anybody watching, I hope that this has some kind of general useful value to you if you're considering going out to Alaska and in those general areas during October.
And if you go earlier, then you might be able to do a little bit more than we did.
Yeah. There was plenty that was open up into middle of September or something like that. But yeah, once you hit mid-September into early October, pretty much a huge amount of things to go out and do and stuff, or to plan at least to go out and do, kind of really get shut down. So
yeah.
But there's still something to be said about what you can gain out of going out of the.
Out of the slow season versus a normal season.
All right, well, that was our first trip out into Alaska. Hope you generally enjoyed the footage and the pictures. Hope the video comes together nicely. Let me know if it did or was boring as shit and definitely should have been cut down to 20 minutes.
Well, I hope you enjoy, and if you do ever plan on going to Alaska, I highly recommend it.
All right, bye.
Bye.